Welcome to the Fun Astrology Podcast. It's Wednesday, January 11th. Thomas Miller, thanks for joining us. Okay, have you been feeling these solar flares? Have you been hearing about them? Do you even know what I'm talking about? Well, I thought that this is not part of astrology. This is what's going on in space, absolutely. And I want to correlate it with what's happening with the chart, but I know a lot of us have been feeling these solar impacts on Earth right now, as these flares have been just absolutely enormous since about last Thursday. Before we go there, let's do what we always do, and let's set up the astrological weather, the thing that we can measure through astrology. So early this morning, 3:45 a.m., Mercury squared Chiron. Then just a couple of minutes after that, Venus squared the nodes of the moon. So Venus today is in a waxing or separating bending of the nodes of the moon. Watch for karmic stuff to come up in your relationships. Watch for karmic stuff to come up with your money. Watch for karmic stuff to come up even with your home. Now, and this one might be related directly to these flares. I don't know, but Mars turns direct tomorrow, 3:55 p.m. Eastern Time, just before 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, let's talk about what's been going on with the sun. So we've been having these solar flares. What is a solar flare? It's an explosion on the surface of the sun, whatever that is, that emits electromagnetic radiation to the Earth. How long does it take to reach the Earth? Believe this, 8 minutes. They travel at the speed of light. I verified that from the NOAA.gov website, and because that is from the government, it is information from the government, you probably should, not believe it. But if it is the speed of light, then that is calculable. Now, there are apps. If you get on your app store and you go to solar flares, you can download some apps that some cost, some don't, that will give you this information. Obviously, they vary in intensity. And what's been happening over this past week is hyper-intensive solar flares. Now, I'm not an expert in this, so I'm not going to try to pretend anything. But what I do know is this. I have a couple of friends that are ham radio operators. If you don't know what that is, it is kind of an older technology now. But basically, they rely on skipped radio frequencies to be able to communicate around the Earth. Ham operators are licensed by the FCC almost as their own little radio broadcasting station. And the big deal is that from your house, with a moderately powered radio transmitter and an antenna, you can often talk around the world by keying up your microphone, giving your call sign, and then saying, is anybody out there? Well, when we start talking about these various things, I like to always gravitate back to something that either I know or somebody I know and trust knows and has experienced. That way we're not fooling around with theoretical caca stuff, right? I know ham radio operators. In fact, my brother's a ham radio operator. He will absolutely tell you this, that during these time periods, you cannot skip around the Earth. Now, the other thing that's going on right now is we are in the beginning stages of solar cycle 25. Again, this is widely published. NASA.gov would be a resource for this. That is a sun cycle that is going to last 11 years. And one of my ham operator buddies, Ken, told me that during solar cycle 25, so for the next decade, basically, they are not going to be able to talk around the globe like they normally do. Now, the metaphysical people come in and they say, oh, we're getting all these downloads and uploads and upgrades and higher consciousness. That's Dolores Cannon, and other people have talked about that. And again, I just don't have any experience with that. I don't know about the whole ascension thing. I just don't. I don't have any experience, so I don't want to convey it just because somebody else said it. However, I know there are several of you that might be feeling direct experiences with upgraded energy. If you do and are, I'd love to hear about it. If you would hit the SpeakPipe, the orange button up at the top left of the funastrology.com website. Leave me a message. I'd love to hear what's going on for you experientially. What are you feeling? What are you sensing? What are you experiencing? All right, so solar flares, when they reach the Earth, come in different intensities. So the base level, the most common, are the M level flares, and the M's are scaled M1, M2, up through M5. Then you have the X band, and that's basically M on steroids. That's M amplified. So you have X1, and then it goes X1.1, 1.2. And when you get up to X2, you're talking about substantially higher than even X1 and mega substantially higher than the M class, the M levels. All right, we've had 2 X class, the higher level, the X class flares. One was last Thursday UTC time. One was this Monday UTC time. And the one on Monday was an X 1.98, just barely under a 2. Now, are these predictable? Well, yes, in the sense that they can obviously look at the surface of the sun and they can tell what activity there is, and they can project, well, this one might turn into a more. So right now, what the apps that I use on my phone are saying is that for the next 3 or 4 days, we are still in the window of this heightened activity. But they can't say at 2:15 p.m. on Thursday, we're going to have an X-class solar flare. That's not predictable. That's not like astrology. Now, let's talk about astrology, because when that big one happened on Monday, and I don't know if this is just coincidental or what, but the sun itself was in a grand cross, or in other words, 2 T-squares, or a big square in the chart with 5 other planets, because 2 were conjunct. Uranus and the north node of the moon was one aspect. The moon itself was another. The south node of the moon, of course, and then the sun. They were all in square aspects to each other. Now, my app this morning early here on Wednesday has been going off twice since I started recording this. And interestingly, the sun today is in a 135-degree aspect with Mars. That is a tense aspect. It's also a minor aspect. So is that causing all of this? No. But with Mars turning direct tomorrow, I just wonder what kind of rumblings Mars might be contributing to this energy. I have no idea. I have no idea how Mars might affect the surface of the sun. This is probably way more solar cycle stuff, astronomical stuff, than it is astrological stuff. But our sun is in the sky in now the 3rd decan of the sign of Capricorn. Mars is turning direct from a long retrograde tomorrow, and we are getting hammered with solar flares. So I just wanted to put all that together and put that out there. But we are in a time when extra self-care is definitely necessary. These solar flares directly affect my arrhythmia of my heart, which is electric. So I'm having to mind myself very carefully right now. So far, with the awareness of this, I've been able to do that. You may have been feeling this in various different ways. You may be more emotional. You may be more tired. Maybe more testy, edgy, grumpy. You might be getting spiritual downloads or uploads or upgrades. Maybe heightened fear or uncertainty. I mean, there's just all kinds of ways broadly that we could experience this. Now, I know we've gone long, but let's talk about where is there some support in the sky that we can turn to for this today. And there is. There's a big grand trine in the sky. This is an earth trine, which is grounding. So we're talking about Mercury, the moon. So even right there, calm your soul, calm your mind. And then also, interestingly, Uranus and the north node of the moon are part of this grand trine. So this is saying to me, okay, this is just my interpretation. This is designed. This is purposed. That's the node of the moon. And Uranus, as unusual as this is, we still can find our center. And if you need to, take the earth trine literally and go do something in the earth. If the weather is warm enough where you are, go out and take your shoes off and get your feet in the soil, or down here where I am in the sand. Do you have an earth ceremony you could do? Really rely on Mother Gaia right now to help ground us. All right, sorry for going long, but I did want to just put this out there. We're not going to dwell on it, but I wanted to make you aware of it. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you back tomorrow. Have a great day. Stay grounded, stay safe, stay in love.